Hey, good morning and welcome to Tower Gardening Made Easy. And I'm Sherry. Have you ever had critters in your tower, whether you're inside or out? If you have, then you understand how devastating it can be to your crops. So I'm going to show you one method on how to get rid of them and keep them under control. All right, so let's define what critters or pests are. We all know that there's spider mites and there's aphids, but there's also different kinds of flies as well that can get into the tower and just wreak havoc. So this week I discovered, because my windows are now open down here in the grow room and I have a fan kind of bringing in some breeze from the outside, I discovered this little black fly. And that little darn thing has started to munch. Now, I don't see any eggs, and I've only seen a couple, but I'm going to get right on this, okay? Because I'm very vigilant in this room as to what happens and what to do when. But I don't want to use any sprays. I don't want to use any pesticides, herbicides, or things that are going to be messy or be harmful to my crops. So I'm going to be using a method called companion flowers. Now, I know, you guys have probably already heard about them. And you're thinking, this is just old news and blah, blah, blah. That's not the case. So anybody can put companion flowers, and let's go over what they are. It could be marigolds, which is the number one. It can be chives, any of the onions. And you got to be careful with those on the towers. But you could also be doing catnip, scented geranium, basil, rosemary. The list is long, but it's where you put them. That's what I want to show you now. Before I share where to put the companion flowers, I want to show you the damage that these little buggers can do. Okay. Now I discovered a couple little leaves, and you're going to see right here. Okay. There's a few little, like what I call munching holes. And then on this one, there's one here, and then there's a couple down here. Now that's how I knew. And then I actually saw them flying around a little bit, especially around over in the watermelon tower. And I just thought, are these fruit flies? Not sure, but doesn't matter. All of my towers are now going to get companion flowers to ward off whatever this is. So I just want to show you what the damage can look like and what you should be looking for in your towers if you see something flying around your room that should not be in your room or near your tower. So let's go ahead and I'm going to show you and place them correctly. So I mentioned earlier the list of companion flowers. Now the number one is marigolds. And that's what I'm actually going to be putting into the towers. And I'm going to be using the pumpkin tower because this is one of my newest towers that I really want to protect because I just don't want to have any mishaps. And there's some space and it's easy to see versus something that's a little more, congested, like my squash tower that I just showed you where those little munching holes are. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you. I'm going to be taking some, they were soil-based marigolds that I rinsed off, and they've been actually sitting in a basin of water that I've rinsed off all the soil and sprayed off all of the dirt. And then I did one step further. I took a little bit of hydrogen peroxide and water mix and I sprayed the roots and then just let them sit in a little more water. So it's been about a week. I did lose some of the leaves, and that's okay. I just don't want to put them in the towers if there's any bacteria or there's anything in the flowers. So you want to keep them away from your towers or your grow room for a little bit. If you're outside, that's a little bit different, but indoors, be cautious. Keep them away, rinse them, keep them clean. So I'm going to be placing these strategically in this tower. So you might see someone's tower outside that's got some companion stuff on the top or the bottom, and it's really pretty. But here's the thing, if you only have one spot, that's not enough. So what you need to do is you need to look at your tower and think of it as like prime real estate. So I'm going to be putting one at the very top on the left. I'm going to be putting one midway kind of center, and then I'm going to be putting one on the bottom on the right. So you want to keep these on the smaller side because, again, this is not something that you're going to be eating. It's just to ward off these little evil critters. Okay, so here, here, and here. And I'm going to be building out just like I did in a previous video, and I'm going to tag that right here on how to convert a soil-based plant. I think I did that with peppers to a hydroponic seedling. Okay, so that's what I've done. Watch this video. It will tell you exactly how to do it, but I'm going to show you real quick here on how to do that. So I take little chunks of rockwool. Okay, these are pre-soaked, and I rip them apart. And I'm going to I'll start with the center one first. Let's go ahead and move these lights a little bit. I like to make it squishy and flat. Them down in the bottom, just like that. Now I build a wall. Okay, and again, make it flat so it's covering one side. And you know, if you've got little pieces, you can just go ahead and squish them and make them flat into the net pot. Sometimes what I do with this rock wall, if I've got a seed that I planted in the nursery that didn't take, I will scrape out the guts of that if it didn't take, and I will recycle this because these are about, oh gosh, I want to say 15 cents, 18 cents per cube. So why waste it? So again, so you watch as I squish. Okay, so you want to get this as flat as possible against the net pot. And you're going to see why in a minute. Try to level it, try to get it nice and flat and squish it almost to the point where that you can feel it kind of squishing through the holes of the net pot. You want to give it a nice base, kind of like think of, you know, if you've ever made a pie before, little baby bird's nest. See how that's nice and round in there? So now I'm going to take um, one of the companion. Okay, so you can see right here where I lost a little bit of the leaves over the past week or so, and you can see how clean you want this. There are some little tidbits from probably like the peat moss and the soil, and that's okay. You're not going to get it all out. You can actually see some little vermiculite there as well. Do your best, but you definitely want to give it an opportunity to, you know, stay in the water as long as possible without, you know, obviously, you know, killing it. So now I'm going to take this root ball and I'm going to kind of just make it into a smaller little round ball. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stuff it carefully, trying not to break the stem and or hurt the roots. And it should fit nice and snug in there. Now I'm going to take a top of the rock wall. Again, more pieces. This actually has a little algae on it, so get rid of that. And I'm going to sweep these roots in. And now I'm going to build the top. This is your top of the pie, top crust. Now, in the video where it says how to convert a soil base to hydroponic, there will be a, well, I won't say like a learning curve, but there will be a, you know, conversion as this starts to grow into the tower. You're going to see some probably yellowing leaves. You might even lose a bunch. Listen, don't be afraid. You have nutrients in the water. It takes a minute for this to adjust, but this is the fastest way to get a companion into the tower to protect your crops without, you know, obviously losing. You don't want to lose this or have little munch holes because that's just going to devastate these little seedlings. So that's why I'm doing the pumpkin tower first. So you can get in here and just like that. There's just a little bit of yellow and pick it off. Now, as I planted out the pepper plants, as you'll see in that video, there was one that I really thought I was going to lose. And sure enough, I just left it alone. And within the next week, it popped back and it's absolutely gorgeous. So I'm going to show you. Come on over here. So this plant right here, okay, and look how gorgeous these leaves are. All right, these are the pepper plants. There's one here and there's one over here, and I think there's a couple over here. These were soil-based that I converted over in the same method as those marigolds. So don't be afraid. You're going to lose all these bottom leaves, but as long as that core, which is up in here, kind of like your crown of lettuce, but it's a pepper plant, stays active. If you've got at least just one little root, I'm sorry, not root, but little teeny tiny leaf, it will continue to grow. So don't throw it out. It just needs a moment to adjust. So let's go back over here. And so I've got one planted there. I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to do the top right there. I'm going to spin the tower a little bit so you guys can see. There we go. So by using that same method, I'm going to move the light. I'm going to go ahead. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I've discovered that there is a net pot on the back side. I'm going to spin a little bit more. Again, you want to stagger these. They're out. So if I've got one here, if I've got one there to the right, I'll probably load this bad boy up. I don't want anything to happen to these guys. So you know what? I might even just, no, I'll go here first. So I'm going to go ahead, make sure that you guys can see me. Yes. And I'm going to fill out that bottom. All right. So I'm going to make those sidewalls, squish them right into the little slats of the net pot. And you see, once you get the hang of this, this is going to go really, really fast. I prefer to use, when I build out these, I prefer to use the towergarden rock wall just because it's a little bit easier to use. I like to use two different kinds of rock wool. This is one of my favorites here. And you can find that at the towergarden madeeasy.com website. It's right in there. It'll take you right to Amazon to make sure that you're buying the right one. Okay, so now we have this beautiful little bird's nest. Let's take a companion flower. This one looks really good. As you can see, the roots are nice and clean. Leaves are okay. Got a broken one right there. Get rid of that. So I'm going to take this and roll it up into a ball. Carefully placing it into the net pot. And try not to, you want to kind of put your finger down there and make sure there's no little air holes. But eventually the roots will grow into it. So I guess you don't have to worry too much about that. There we go. So let's make the top. Let's support that stem. I will say these marigolds, they were outside in a garden nursery here on the island. And so that's why I really wanted to wait. I waited probably a little less than a week because they've been outside for so long that I'm like, the whole reason why I'm putting them in the tower is to get rid of critters. So I don't want anything that's going to potentially come into the grow room and harm everything. So there you go. That's another one. So now we got two. So now I'm just going to put one on the bottom and let me just see where we want to place that one. All right. So we put the third one here. So I really think on a flex, you're really good with probably three, or it just depends on how much extra room you have, but definitely a minimum of two. And if that's all you can do, then put one on the top and one on the bottom, separate sides, and let them grow. Keep them under control. They'll do their job. They don't need to be too big. Focus on letting your crops get big and building food for you and your family. This is just an insurance policy to let those crops grow. Thanks for joining me today. We'll see you very, very soon on our next video. Take care.